Welcome back to the weekly edition of the Winter Weather Podcast that we're going to do once a week, unless there's some major winter storm coming to the Mid Atlantic or Northeast. Um, I don't really consider lake effect snows a winter storm because that's almost like normal for areas around the Great Lakes. But areas in New York saw up to 50, 55 inches of snow when you talk about areas like around Buffalo. And some football games actually got moved that were up there for Baltimore, Buffalo, and that never really happens. And so that's just the magnitude of the winter weather that we had there. Now, on to our regularly scheduled programming. One thing that we're going to talk about this week, we're going to go over, this is the 6Z06Z model run of the GFS on November 20th, 2022. And here's why we're going to go over this. I'd really rather go over the controlled runs of 00Z of the GFS. However, I don't see too many differences between both model runs. So this is why we're going to go with the latest one today. And we're going to talk about the pattern change that's going to come over the next couple weeks. Because one thing that it does appear, and if you just look at this, and this will be mentioned in our winter forecast when it's actually finished and done and ready, is that there's more of a flip-floppy pattern. You'll have these periods where you're going to be much colder than average, but then it'll be dry, or have these periods will be much warmer than average, and depending on what areas you're in, it'll be really wet. But in the east, you might end up being dry too. So, but there's a few things that it looks like it'll be a flippy floppy winter. And just looking at how the troughs come in to the east, if they continue coming into that angle, it's going to be really hard to get East Coast snowstorms. But it's still early. Officially, winter doesn't start till December 20th. Meteorological winter starts December 1st. However, I do think meteorological winter will start off maybe around average to slightly above average temperature-wise in the east. So with that said, let's get into this. First thing we're going to do, we're going to go to the GFS model runs. Okay, so here's the 6Z. All right, this is the 6Z. We're going to start at this hour. As you can tell, that lake effect snow machine is still going. It's still going up there in areas of the Great Lakes, and this isn't even one of the strongest events I've seen, because in even stronger events, you've had snow showers that have made it all the way to areas like Philly, New York City, Washington, D.C. They don't accumulate, but it's just like a quick burst of snow. So this isn't even that, but you can see a draped out cold front coming to the south. It'll be pretty breezy in the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast over the next couple of weeks. Milder condition. Look at the ridge that's sitting up here in the west that they're currently dealing with. And they've dealt with this for the last week or so. As we're going to go forward a little bit as we head into Wednesday, you can see a little low pressure system trying to develop off the coast of the Carolinas. Next Wednesday, when everybody's starting to travel, you might have some light showers in the Carolinas from that storm system developing, but it really won't get too organized, because you can see the northern stream is way up here, the southern stream is way down here. There's not going to be much interaction, so this is going to be a weak system, and it's going to move right on off and move quickly. You have another storm system moving into the Pacific Northwest, and here's something that I've always tried to tell people and point out, that if you're ever a real snow lover in the Mid-Atlantic or Northeast, and you're looking for snow, typically where the storm system comes in on the west coast is where it'll exit on the east coast. So you see a storm system way up here, it's probably going to end up somewhere up here. So as a result, you have that warm air across the United States. A lot of this will end up being more rain than snow, unless you're in the upper elevations, or maybe if you're in the very northern tier of the states. That's where you might receive some snow. Cold air starting to retreat, though, as you head into the areas of the Northeast. That counterclockwise flow brings the warmer air up into the center of the nation, and rain and snow, plenty of rain and snow into southwestern Canada and to areas of Washington State and Idaho as you head on into next Wednesday. That little weak area of disturbance now pushes into the starts pushing into the center of the country. There's that little weak area of low pressure, as I said, it's literally zipping right on off the coast as we head on into Thursday. And that little ripple and that jet stream, the little storm system that we had, transfers its energy to a little low pressure system that's going to develop down in the south, southern plains area, Texas, Oklahoma. But look at all the warm air as a result. Look at all the warm air as a result. You can see the main low pressure systems are way up in the north. This is average to above average temperatures here in the east, and then look all the way to the west. You still have that ridge way up here. That's another storm system coming in to areas of Canada and to the Pacific Northwest, but it's even farther north than the last one. So we're going to keep moving ahead as we head into Thursday and Friday. As we head into later on Friday, you can see that cold front in the north is going to bring this little reinforcing shot of cooler air. It won't even be cold, but cooler air. You can already see it's really warming up behind another storm system that came off of the Pacific. A nice little area of rain and snow in the areas of the mountainous southern plains if you head into Texas, and that's where you'll see this is where you're going to get your real precipitation. You'll have some showers in the areas of the Appalachian Mountains as you head on into the weekend. And then as you head on into the day on late nights, Friday into Saturday, this little storm system that comes to the north starts to redevelop. You'll have some mountain snows and some rain and it'll just be a messy Saturday, at least a messy Saturday morning as you head on into the areas of New England. The coldest air stays up there. You have a reinforcing shot in the east, but it's not cold air. It's about returns temperatures to seasonable, but look at all the warm air behind this that you're going to see. And as I said, I really only bank into like the first 240 hours, because if you go any farther past that, it's really iffy, and even at 240 is really iffy. But it's great to look at it to see what type of patterns that we're going to be running into. As you can see, that little area of precipitation finally gets itself organized into a little weak low pressure system. Cold air starts to slowly funnel back into the north, and you see some rain and snow as another storm system pushes into the Pacific Northwest. But it almost looks like a zonal flow as you head into the weekend next week. And you can see this little low pressure system. One thing that I will say, and people don't always understand this, to get the huge storms, you need that southern jet and that northern jet to interact. And what you're seeing here is this storm is going to get going, and it'll have precipitation with it, but look at how fast it's starting to move. And it doesn't have that jackpot of moisture. And that's because it's not interacting with each other, and that's what really gives you your big storms. Pacific Northwest still stays unsettled. And then when it comes to snow, look at how usually if you see storms coming up like this, you'll see a nice little swath of snow on the northwestern side. There's no cold air at all. There's none to be seen. And that's part of what we were talking about in our last update, that we'll expect late November, early December for there to be a pattern flood. You can see as this low pressure comes through and moves through next Sunday and Monday, it's going to be a quick mover. It's going to be some pretty light to moderate rain. Won't amount to much. Areas up, and this is what I meant earlier when I said you'll have those upper elevations that'll have that enough cold air to produce some wet snows. But there won't be any deep cold air to produce heavier snows. Pacific Northwest still remains unsettled as you head into Sunday and Monday of next week. You can see what I was talking about again there. You can see the low pressure system getting itself together off the coast. colder air, it looks like it's going to start funneling back in. We're going to go a little farther ahead to hour 240. This would appear to be a pretty significant dive of cold air, because look at how far the cold air reaches down into areas of California. And as I said, when you start getting into this range of the model, especially with the GFS, it can be out to lunch sometimes. So it's about following the model and making sure that it stays consistent with what you're seeing here. You can see that, but you can see cold air coming to the west and the warmer air in the east, and that's part of the pattern flip we talked about last week. And as you can see, you'll have these. This is what part of what I meant when I was talking about the center of the nation will get these type of storms. And this is, as I said, we're in La La Land with the GFS. It also brings a tropical system, but we're not going to really focus on that. We're going to look at it really as the patterns at this point. If this were to rain true, this is a strong cold front, probably with some severe weather headed through areas Kentucky, Arkansas, Tennessee. With the type of warm air that's ahead of it, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And the type of cold air crashing in behind it. And this is part of where you kind of look at it and I was like, this is a little interesting, because the front does fall apart. As I said, La La Land for GFS at this point. But it does result in a flip of the weather pattern. You see the ridge in the west, the trough in the east. And this is part of what I mean when I say the trough is so sharp in the east of this, the trough is so deep in the east. What you really want is this trough to be about right here, and then have it come back up right there. And that's where you'll get your snows. So, you can, as we go to the last portion, you have about a week of some colder air in the northeast, and then warm up in the west, and I can't tell you how long that's going to last because it's too far out. So one of the things that I often like to look at is the NAO, AO, and PNA. I didn't take a look at that, but you'll see a post on our website, weatheradvance.com. Actually, let's come back to me at this point. You'll see a post on weatheradvance.com, and we're going to talk about a little bit more so about the NAO, AO, and the PNA, and what it looks like it's going to be for the next upcoming weeks. And that'll help us to decide what our projections are for the next couple of weeks, or perhaps a little bit beyond, what the weather will be like, whether it'll be cold. We believe it'll be cold with opportunities for snow, or warm with opportunities for a soggy type of couple weeks of December. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoy the week. Stay warm, stay safe, and just have a good week. We'll be bringing you updates more often. I don't always have it in me to do it, but we'll bring it to you when we can. So you guys have a wonderful day. This is forecaster John David Brown Roy from the Weather and Storm Prediction Center. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Please make sure all your comments are constructive, or they will not be shared. All right? Yeah, have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.